How's it going? Today I'm talking about should you rest after each race during Dopey?
This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line.
Okay, it's a common question. Should you go to the parks or should you rest? Because you're at Disney. You want to go to the parks and you want to enjoy. So what is the general consensus and what does a physical therapist recommend? So it's Disney. Go enjoy Disney. I will say that between the half marathon and the full marathon, most seasoned Dopey runners say don't go to the parks on that particular day. But other than that, go ham. Go to the parks after the 5K, go to the parks after the 10K. Top recommendations are enjoy yourself, but don't push yourself. And so you can do that by after the 5K, going and having some breakfast, going to the parks, and calling it an early night. I mean, you're already going to want to call it an early night because let's be real, you're waking up at like 2 or 2:30 in the morning. It's a long day. Like for the 5K, you're waking up early, and then the 10K, you're waking up early, and the half marathon, you're waking up early. And this year, starting in 2025, for the marathon, you're waking up even earlier because it's a half hour earlier start time than previous years. Starts at 4:30 in the morning this year. That's for the marathon alone. Everything else is still 5 a.m. So how do you actually do it? So as a physical therapist, I actually do recommend go and enjoy the parks because it will keep your muscles loose and limber. It's when you stop doing things that things tighten up. So for years and years and years, when I've had runners with injuries or just the general population with injuries, top comments are, well, it hurts when I'm standing to cook. It hurts when I'm sitting at my desk for work. It hurts when I'm driving to work in the car. What do those three things have in common? It's when you are in one position for a prolonged amount of time. Standing to cook, well, they're standing to cook for an hour. Sitting at your desk for work, oh, you're sitting at your desk for 3 hours at a time before you get up. Sitting in the car driving to work, well, you're stuck in traffic, so maybe it's 45 minutes to an hour. So it's when you're not moving around and changing position that aggravates injuries the most. So I like to compare it to children. Children don't have that many aches and pains. They don't have that many injuries. Part of that is because they are very resilient. Their muscle cells, their everything cells replicate and regenerate very quickly because they haven't had the years and years and years of degeneration. But part of that is children don't sit still. They're constantly moving. And they just do it because some of them have ADHD, but because they get uncomfortable, so they move. Whereas us as adults, we have been trained, no, you need to sit there and do your work and you can't get up until your work is done. No, this is what you have to do. You have to stand and you have to cook dinner and you have to do that until it's done. Children don't have that until we start telling them to do that. But inherently, they want to move around and change positions. They aren't sitting doing one task for hours and hours and hours and hours. Even in school, yes, they may be doing math for 45 minutes, but then they switch it up and they do English for 45 minutes or they do reading for 45 minutes or whatever the timeline is. I don't know. I haven't been in school in a long time. But they're changing it up. And then when they're at home, they're changing positions while they're playing with their dolls, while they're playing with their Legos, while they're watching a movie. They're getting up and doing this. And now they have to go to the bathroom. And they're like constantly moving. And they aren't forced until they are forced to sit and stay in one position. Whereas as adults, we stay in one position for far too long. So going to the parks, as opposed to laying in bed or sitting on the couch all day after the races, is actually going to help your muscles stay loose and flexible and lubricated, and your joints are going to feel nice and happy. You just don't want to overdo it. So you don't want to stay until park close. You don't want to watch the fireworks those nights. You want to go home earlier. You want to eat a lot because you're still carb loading. If you are doing Dopey, you're carb loading every single day. Have the soda, have the food, have the pastry, have the churro, have the hot chocolate. Now, of course, if your tummy can tolerate all those things, I don't recommend tons and tons and tons of new food, but enjoy all of those things. Go to the park, go walk around, go shopping. So after the 5K, make a day of it. Go to your favorite park, enjoy your rides. The 10K, go to your second favorite park, enjoy some of the rides. Go home early, eat. And then the half marathon, you can take it or leave it. I did ask in a Facebook group what most people do. Most Dopey runners, after the half marathon, do not go to the park. And part of that is just they're still exhausted from the half marathon, and they know they have 7 hours of running to do tomorrow, and they're already exhausted thinking about it. And so going to the park just adds another layer. So one thing you can do on that day is go to Disney Springs. Go and enjoy just walking around there, enjoy the different sites there. So you're still walking around and moving around, but you're not buying a park ticket for a day that may be a half day or not even a half day, if the financial aspect is a concern for you. Go to Disney Springs, go resort hopping. You can go into the different resorts at no cost. So hop on the monorail, get an Uber to the different resorts. I'm sure there are other ways. I don't think you can go from resort to resort. I don't know that. I've only gone to some resorts, and I've done monorail, or I've done Uber, or I've gone to another resort from another park. You can do those things to stay moving. Again, call it an early night. Eat a lot of food. Be prepared for marathon day. But sitting around and doing nothing, resting, sleeping all day, that's actually going to make your knee feel worse when it comes to the race the next day. And of course, as I always recommend, stretch a lot, stretch often. Okay, so after the 5K, stretch before you cool down, and stretch throughout the day, and stretch before you go to bed. After the 10K, same thing. Stretch while you're still warm after the 10K. Stretch throughout the day, stretch before bed. Same thing with the half marathon. Stretch right after the half marathon while you're still warm. Stretch throughout the day, stretch before bed. Keep your muscles loose and limber. Keep your knees feeling happy by moving around, stretching, and being prepared for the next day by just not pushing yourself through the limits. Don't stay open. Don't stay till park close, but still enjoy the parks. Moving around is going to be better. You're going to feel better. I'm not the only one that says this. When I asked in the Facebook group, lots and lots of runners that do Dopey, seasoned Dopey runners, whether they have knee pain or they do not, said that their body thanked them later by moving around. So go enjoy the parks. Consider between the half marathon and the marathon just going to Disney Springs to keep moving around, stay loose, but not overexert yourself, because those two are long days. Okay, let me know what you thought about this podcast episode.
Hey, can I ask a quick favor? If you're enjoying this podcast, would you take 20 seconds to leave a rating and review? Leaving a rating and a review helps other runners find this podcast, because the platform you're listening to this on will start suggesting it to runners like you. All it takes is 20 seconds. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. As always, thanks so much for listening. That's all for now. Talk to you soon.